A new study is showing that around a third of food delivery riders have been in accidents which required medical attention. While the findings were released by the Institute of Policy Studies, the findings also open up areas in which workers can be better protected by both the government and individual platforms. Sherry Locke with this report.
With 4 orders to fulfill in an hour, this food delivery rider has no time to waste. Besides contending with traffic, Stephen Anandan also has to make sure his bike is well maintained, a challenge as he was working 10 hours a day at one stage.
So there was one time I actually was trying to turn into a car park and there was a taxi in front of me. And the taxi jam braked and then I jam braked but my brake snapped.
The survey polled around 1,000 riders. It found that those who spend longer hours on the road to try and earn more tend to be more accident prone. Some 24% of riders earning less than $1,000 every month have been in at least one accident. For those earning $3,000 or more, it was around 36%. That's why researchers say companies need to step in to better protect workers.
So I think it's important that platform companies find ways to reward those who follow the rules that are meant not just to protect the platform worker, but the broader community. And I think it also means that platforms do what it can to ensure that the wages of platform workers are sustainable, decent enough to be able to take care of them and needs of their family.
Apart from safety issues, top concerns among respondents include not being able to earn enough, as the number of new riders outpaces the demand for food delivery services. Savings are also an issue, with only a quarter of them saying they have enough to meet theirs and their family's needs for the next 3 to 6 months if they were to stop working.
Researchers suggest CPF as a possible way to safeguard delivery riders' long-term security, but only around half of riders are in favour of this. Dr. Matthew says more needs to be done, including raising awareness on the benefits of having CPF contributions.
The ability for them to be able to have a house, to be able to have enough money in their Medisave account, to be able to help with healthcare needs, to be able to take care of them in retirement. That should be some of the criteria people look at when they actually find a job.
Nearly half of respondents also believe that having an association to negotiate on their behalf is important. While the riders may not have a union now, the National Delivery Champions Association says it's calling for stronger legislative backing to better represent these riders. Despite the challenges, many seem reluctant to leave this line of work.
The reason why I like to do this is because it's very flexible. It's very on time, on target. I can just listen to my song and do the orders as I please.
Still, the diploma holders open to exploring other forms of employment and even upskilling in the future, like a fifth of riders polled have done.
For more, we're joined now by Shamil Zainuddin, Research Associate at IPS Social Lab at the Institute of Policy Studies. Good evening, Shamil. This study sought to make certain discoveries and insights into the work that delivery riders do every day, and it looked at their conditions, what they aspire to, what their needs are. What are some of the biggest concerns that were raised from this research?
Thank you again for having me, and thank you for highlighting this important project. I think some issues and concerns actually that were highlighted in this project include, protection. I think earlier, the intro to this whole section talked about accidents. So protection is really up there with some kind of key questions that we would like to think about further. Protection is one. Number two is about transition, right? If some of these riders would like to transition somewhere, how may they do it? How can we help them also transition? And kind of connected to that question is this idea of transition where, right? Because, while we're looking at platform work, but actually perhaps the jobs outside can be a bit more attractive to workers, right? Whether it be in terms of wage, whether we can redesign or rethink how work conditions can be better. Because as the study shows, there's a disproportion of people who are, low income, lower qualifications who are represented in this particular job. So if we can think of, other jobs out there that can sort of cater to that particular group, that'd be actually great. Yeah.
So ideally, what I hear you say, Shamil, is that their welfare might be better taken care of to a certain degree. But why are there so many challenges towards that end, and how can they be addressed?
Yeah, I think that, to be honest, I think the main challenge is actually a consequence of how new and novel this particular group job is to all of us, right? It's been less than, I think, 10 years also since the job sort of came to our shores. So the challenge is actually knowing what this particular thing is, right? Because it's really novel and its possible impact. That is why I would say that research like the type that we are doing and others as well, other scholars are crucial to sort of finding out the unintended consequences of this new novel thing, and hopefully by doing more research we can sort of really understand and therefore address the challenges and also plot ahead, right?
So we heard one of the individuals who is a delivery rider earlier saying that he likes the flexibility of this kind of work. That's important to him. What's your position on this idea that part of this issue of how much care they receive and how much how much support they're getting as well, it is self-fulfilling to a certain degree. They want to do this kind of work because it gives them a certain way of life as well.
I mean, some of these platform, some of these platform workers, some people actually feel that these platform workers know exactly what they were getting themselves into when they took the job at the start, and therefore should not complain, when they want to, for example, buy a house later down the road, but can't because of a lack of CPF. Sure, you can probably argue that, but you can also argue that this particular work is really unlike other freelance work that we kind of know of, right? And because of that, we have yet to fully understand actually its effects. So basically, perhaps that guy who signed as a worker in probably 2006 did not fully understand what they were getting themselves into, right? In fact, I think probably we can argue that sometimes some platforms themselves don't know where this thing is actually headed, right? Some started as perhaps private hire companies are now giving loans, right, to some of our platform workers. So the technology itself is very difficult to predict. And that is why I think we need to give a bit more leeway with regard to how we sort of lay the blame on some of these workers, right? Because we are not certain where this particular job is headed.
Yeah. And Shamil, what's it going to take for them to, sort of benefit from better representation? And what needs to happen for them to get that representation and for it to be meaningful as well?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. I mean, we know about 2/5 of our respondents are members of the National Delivery Champions Association, or NDCA. But we also know that very few actually use their services. We also know that there is a tripartite work group for representation on platform workers. I think we're moving towards the right direction with regard to working together on this. In that whether it be government, academia, think tanks such as us, corporations. I think that is really the way forward. That we work each other, and not see each other as adversaries. That we see each other as wanting to sort of help one another make this something that's sustainable for all of us. Yeah.
And do you believe that it has a future? I mean, especially when you look at the government's objectives for the workforce to continually upskill and upgrade. Is platform work sustainable?
Well, I mean, I hope it is, right? Because I'm customer as well. But jokes aside, while it may be great for those who are, it might be really sustainable for those who are doing like part-time work. We're concerned about the welfare of the full-timers, right? And I think and with regard to that question, whether that is sustainable for full-timers, I think that's why we need to work together with stakeholders to make it sustainable for all in the future.
Shamil, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us this evening. I've been speaking there to Shamil Zainuddin from the Institute of Policy Studies.